Hi guys, this is Hannah from foodtheinspirator.com and today we're going to make a cream of spinach soup. It's actually available on my website. If you'd like to go on foodtheinspirator.com, the full recipe will be there. I will link the link in the description box below. So basically what you're going to need is I have two medium-sized potatoes here that I have chopped to maybe 1 centimeter, half an inch cubes. The smaller you chop, the faster it will actually cook. So you'll just save time for yourself. Here you'll have one small onion and two garlic cloves just chopped. You don't have to really worry because it's going to be blitzed anyway. So that's that. And roughly 400 grams of spinach, which would have been about 2 small bags. And my oil is very hot. About 2 small bags for me. So you'll need that washed and ready to go. And I have one stock cube here. If you can get an organic one, I like to use Callow Organics. Unfortunately, we're in the middle of quarantine, so that's not really available. So I just went with the Aldi regular stock cube. Still does the job. Not the best, but it'll do. So you want to have just 1 tablespoon of oil. I just heated it up here, ready to go. And we're going to get going with our onions first. So if you just turn the heat down to a medium so they don't burn. I'm going to throw the onions in. And the reason you want to get the onions in before the garlic is because garlic actually burns a lot faster than onions do. So you want to make sure your onions are sauteing for about 2 minutes to 3 minutes until they're translucent before you add your garlic. It'll just make them release their flavor nicely. And once that's done, I'll add the garlic in. Don't worry if they caramelize. The soup will be blitzed at the end anyway, and as long as you're not burning them to charcoal, they will still have that lovely flavor. If you see them getting a bit too hot, just remove the pan from the heat and you can add your garlic. And pop that back on the heat there and just saute for a further minute or two before we will add our cube potatoes. My pot isn't the best, as you can see, but I guess you work with what you have. If you're worried they're gonna burn, you can also just add the small little drop of the dissolved stock cube. That will also prevent the burning. You can see they're starting to look a little translucent, or they kind of have this clear look. Almost like a window when you're looking through it, if that makes sense. That looks lovely to me. So I'm just gonna pop this to the side for a second and drain the potatoes, and then I'm gonna add those right in there. The reason that they're in the water is because if you don't put chopped potatoes into water, they'll actually go brown. So just pop it in some cold water. And I'm just gonna add those right in there. So why are we putting potatoes in a spinach soup? Without the potatoes, for me, well, I'm a carbohydrate kind of girl personally. So I like to make sure that there's something filling in there, something that's going to keep you going for a few hours. And potatoes add an extra level of creaminess to the soup, as well as adding some depth of flavor. It'll keep you fuller for longer, and you're getting the extra added nutrients as well. And the soup won't be quite as neon green looking too. So when I have my potatoes in, just going to dry my hands. We're gonna be pretty plain and simple with the spices here. Just salt and pepper. I'm using white pepper because otherwise you might get the black specks in the soup. And some nutmeg. Whenever I'm using spinach, I always add a bit of nutmeg. Flavors go really, really well together. If you don't like nutmeg, you could use a bit of herb de Provence or maybe a little bit of dried spice, dried parsley. Personally, I just love nutmeg. I would prefer fresh, but once again, COVID-19, shops don't have everything. So dried will do just fine. Just a very small sprinkle. It does have a strong flavor, so you don't want to, that was my phone there. You don't want to overdo it. And once you have that, you can also add a little bit of salt, quite a bit of salt actually. Potatoes really soak up the salt, so you'll find yourself having to add more again and again. Just gonna let that, my heat is on 3 out of 6 there, so kind of medium slash high heat. Don't have to go too high, not too low. Don't worry, they will soak up the salt, so you won't be able to taste it quite as much at the end. And I will use white pepper just so we don't get the specks in the soup when it's done. You can use cracked pepper if you like the flavor of pepper. And what's going to happen once these are a bit sauteed is you're actually going to pour your stock on the potatoes. And I'm going to let the potatoes simmer for 10 to 15 minutes until they're soft. Just trying to get those onions off there. Until they're soft. And once they're soft, we'll add the spinach and then blitz the soup. But it's important to caramelize the potatoes before you add the stock. It actually helps them get a bit of extra flavor when you're coating them in all those onions and garlic and the spices and the oil. So when you see them start to have a small bit of color, you can see they're nicely coated. That's when you pretty much know you're ready to go on with your stock. My stock is dissolved in about 750 ml of water. You may or may not need more. You'll see at the end how much the soup actually takes up. You can just let those brown. It's a really nice soup to have with, I make my own sourdough, which I'm actually thinking of doing a video about too. I love just having it with some sourdough, some soy spread maybe, a little bit of fresh parsley on top of this, some soy cream if you've got it, or just regular cream if you're not dairy free or vegan. It's gorgeous for lunch. Really light but also pretty filling thanks to the potatoes, especially if you have bread on the side. So they're pretty much starting to get a bit of a color there, and you can see they're getting starchy. They're kind of sticking together, so you can leave them go longer if you want, but my pot isn't fantastic and it's catching a little bit, so I'm just gonna put the stock on them and let them simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes. I'm actually gonna go in with all the water because you have to remember all that spinach is going to go in at the end as well. So you need to make sure that there's enough liquid there to hold everything that will go on. And yeah, so I'm just going to let that there for about 15 minutes. The way that you can check is actually put a knife through one of the pieces of potatoes, and when the knife goes through it pretty smoothly, that's when they're cooked. So yeah, see you in 15 minutes. So it's been 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, and as you can see my water is simmering away pretty slowly. I turned the heat down to it too. When you can kind of start to see your potatoes being cooked, you can turn the heat down because when the spinach goes in, you don't want it to wilt and kind of lose its color too fast. So I'm just going to show you how you check that they're cooked. Essentially, I've just got a pointy knife here and you just push it right into the potato and it went through pretty smoothly. So that just shows us that they're cooked. And turn your heat down if you haven't yet. And this is the washed spinach. I'm just going to start to take small handfuls, well, big handfuls actually, and pop them into the pot. You will not be able to fit it all in at once because spinach has a high volume before it cooks. So you're just going to kind of force it down a little bit. Don't need to turn the heat up or anything. Just let it cook away. We'll see now when the spinach goes in if it actually needs more water or not. So I'm just going to keep doing this, adding in handfuls as it keeps cooking down. You'll see it will practically disintegrate. So 400 grams might seem like a lot, but it's not really at the end. So I'm going to put all that in right now. The soup has been on for about 10 minutes. I've added all the spinach in slowly. You have to add it in batches to make sure that it all wilts down properly. So as you can see, it's looking pretty bulky. So I would suggest that we add a little bit of extra water. I'm just using the same container that I had the stock in. Just added a bit of hot water. So we're just going to pour that in. I know it looks fairly not too appetizing right now, but it will be beautiful and very, very tasty when you blitz it up. So I've actually tasted this already, and I added a little bit of extra salt and white pepper. Depending on your tastes, I love salt, so I added more, but you don't have to. So I'm actually just gonna take this now, all the ingredients are there, and I'm just gonna blitz it up, and then we're pretty much done. So that's basically it, guys. I just blitzed the soup, and make sure you close the lid of your... That was my puppy, I'm really sorry. I might show him in one of the videos. Make sure you close the lid of your blitzer because I didn't at the start. Yeah, minor disaster. But anyway, you can see it looks gorgeous. It's very smooth. The color is very green, which you can actually dilute down with some soy cream if you have it. It would also make the flavor of the spinach a little bit less strong. So if you're not really into the flavor of spinach, don't know why I'd be making this soup, but you could add a little bit of extra creaminess to it and the color wouldn't be quite as green. I think I have it on my website to add soy cream. If you're not vegan or dairy free, you could just add regular cream. A touch of milk as well would be nice with this. So I'd serve this with a couple of spinach leaves, just kind of scattered on top with some soy cream maybe. Drizzle a small bit of olive oil on top if you'd like. Pinch a nutmeg on top. And either croutons or brown bread, sourdough bread, whatever. A bit of butter on top. It's gorgeous, delicious, very healthy. So if you guys like this recipe and you'd like to see more, like this video, comment underneath what other recipes you'd like to see from me. I'd be more than happy to take suggestions, and do subscribe to this channel, and see you next time.